Hello and welcome to a Taylor's Tales podcast. This is Chris's Corner. I'm your host, Chris Taylor, and welcome to the 50th episode, the 1-year anniversary of a Taylor's Tales podcast. This is crazy to be here in the fact that I've been able to maintain the podcast for this long, to be able to get through the entire pandemic, producing a video slash podcast slash video podcast slash audio for all of you listeners out there as well, and to have hit this target of, for me personally, to be able to continuously make episodes, continuously come up with new subjects, to talk to people on a regular basis, once a month or once every month, and try and continually provide content. It means a lot to me personally, because I didn't realize how much fun, how much of this would become a passion to me, as much as it is just a general hobby as well. And I didn't realize how big an impact it was going to have in my life. Obviously, these things take time to create and to make and to edit, and to take pieces of time and to organize with other people to be able to get them on the podcast. But for those who've watched since the beginning, thank you. Huge, just thanks for taking time out of your day to listen to me dabble, it just sort of like chat rubbish.
Gator don't play no shit.
From time to time, but also to, genuinely just make people laugh. I do, as I've mentioned many podcasts, really take inspiration from Robin Williams in his, bringing joy to other people's lives, because there is nothing that I find more cumbersome than the fact that people try and make other people, with their negativity, and they're putting themselves, the negative aspects of their lives onto other people. So that is not what I'm here to do, and that is definitely not my mission. And the fact that I've made it a year means that I feel like I can keep going. I can keep making new content and hopefully get new guests, new subjects to tackle, continuously evolve what this podcast could be, and who knows where I'm gonna be. I have a feeling it won't be here this time next year. I have a feeling it won't be here in 6 months' time, but we'll see what happens. And I'm gonna keep my cards close to my chest for now, just in case the Delta variant comes out of nowhere and just goes, "Bro, not today, son."
Slithering. Watch out!
It's just one of those things with, being cautious, but being optimistic on what the future holds. So I have a feeling there's going to be some cool content coming your way soon as well. But apart from that, I got to do my first in-person podcast the other day. I feel that since the pandemic has slowed down, we're seeing more freedom. I'm going to be able to do more of those, which I feel that there's such a difference in energy, I truly feel like I'm locked in to the person. When I was speaking to one of my best friends, Jonathan Edwards, it felt like I was fully having a conversation with him. I didn't feel like I was having to wait for the connection to falter, or to find that there was some sort of issue in the sound, or if there was going to be me having to wait for the other person to reply and then wait a couple of seconds because there's issue on the internet. There's all sorts of things that Zoom can sort of make worse. I have realized as well, actually, working remotely for I think it's going on two and a half years, something along those lines. So around that, a little bit more than that, two and a half, or under 2. I can't remember which. Yeah, something along those lines. I've gone from one thing to another. I know that's totally incorrect maths there. But point being is, I have found that working remotely and then also doing the Zoom calls, it's just kind of, there's less human aspects to it. There's also a lack of communication sometimes can happen. And there's also a little bit of lack of soul. And it's kind of funny, because I remember when I was younger, I thought to myself that the remote working was going to make so many people free. I thought that if companies would only allow people to work remotely, they would free up the ability for people to travel the world, to be able to work from wherever they wanted to work. But the truth is that companies still want you to work in the country that they are present in order to apply taxes to you, which is the truth there, and to also have some sort of control. And recently I saw a couple of companies say that they're going to allow people to work abroad for a month. That month period is available because of the tax windows and the rules the governments have to be able to allow people to go to other countries and come back without having to bend those laws, which is, it's a little bit dodgy. But anyway, back to what I was saying earlier, is that I'm excited to do more in-person podcasts. I love the fact that the most recent few podcasts, they're feeling more higher in quality. I'm going to upgrade my equipment soon. I'm going to try and bolster new microphones, new cameras. It's going to probably, take a bit out of my non-existent budget. But, when you feel that you want to do something, I think there's nothing more frightening than thinking to yourself, well, I could have done that, or I should have done that, or I would have done that, rather than I did do that, and even if it goes bad, at least I did try. And I was talking about this in the previous podcast, in jumping when it feels scariest.
Is that when it feels scary to jump, Ian, that is exactly when you jump. Otherwise, you end up staying in the same place your whole life. And that I can't do.
Is something that I'm in the process of about to do, basically. That is, again, there's a couple of cards I'm not going to share on the podcast yet, but, no spoilers yet, but keep in mind, if you are a regular listener, that in a couple of months' time, we may see more content and more things going on. And I'm super excited for all of that to happen. So yes, 50th podcast. It's crazy to think that I think I've taken a total of 2 weeks off out of the 52 weeks of the year. I took 2 weeks off. One was out of pure exhaustion and burnout, which I do want to address in a minute, and then the other one was from illness, where I was genuinely, I just couldn't film because when I get ill, I normally get ill once a year, and it's normally so bad that I'm bedridden for the day, and it leaks into maybe 1 or 2 days where I'm just out for the count, and it can zap my energy for a couple of days. And that was one of the, I'm not someone for excuses, as you know. I'm someone of a certain mindset who does have that ability to tap into the darkness within himself and crank out some savage miles.
You don't get it. There is a darkness inside of me. It wants to get out, wants to walk around.
But I think this is something else. Again, my ability to create these podcasts continuously is linked to my also ability to run regularly, to work out every single day, either cardio or weights or some sort of activity, and to have a really fun diet. I'm just going to stop saying, a diet. I'm going to start with fun diet, because it's not a sustainable diet if it's not fun. So in my opinion there. And this mindset for me has been created in the past 5 years, where I have gone from somebody who didn't want to put himself through strain and through suffering, and someone now who enjoys that part of his life. And I'm so excited, because I feel like anything now that comes my way I can tackle and have some sort of response to. And the people I talk to, I'm gonna expand a little bit and see if we can tackle some topics that I'm really uncomfortable with, because I feel like one of the things that I have done is, like, I've talked to a lot of people about things that I have some sort of knowledge about, some level of ability to talk to people about, and then there's others where it's just like, stoicism. For one, the other day when I did that with Alex Young, that was well out of my range of knowledge, but I did it anyway because it was fun to do and really inspirational to learn something new and to push yourself into an area of the unknown. Another thing I've learned from the 50 episodes of the podcast is how you can evolve through communication and the ability to listen in to someone else and not be too worried about the pauses. One thing that's constantly on my mind is, how do I fill the airspace? How do I continuously allow the listener to know that I'm here and producing them some sort of content? And the truth is that it's allowing those silences to come in sometimes between people in order to show that you're interacting correctly, but also to allow a pause to show that you're thinking and you're not just, continuously spurting out your brain onto into sound, and to allowing yourself to really collect your thoughts. I think I heard this from a few sort of different podcasters who I admire, who pause and listen and think on what the person has just said. One of my immediate things I've seen from the podcast is that I react immediately. I'm going to try and allow the person's conversation to truly fulfill what they're trying to say, and not feel like I'm interrupting as well. One thing I hate in myself and when I listen to others is sometimes interrupting people, or sometimes just trying to jab in something that's immediately come to my head, that thought that immediately you feels really important, but actually if you were to ignore it and not come back for it for a few minutes, it's probably gone and it doesn't really matter that much. But in the moment you feel that you'll immediately have to get it out. And so I went through a couple of the pieces of content. One of the things that comes to mind is saying certain words and saying certain phrases when I'm talking and stuff like that. And I, surprise, surprise, I don't like listening to myself. I don't know how anyone does it personally, because I can't stand the sound of my own voice. Oh God, it's the worst thing. You guys, one day maybe I'll have my own editor. You never know in 5 years' time. But for now, it's just me, and it's one of the toughest things is having to... I don't mind listening to other people. I can happily listen to any of the guests talk. That's fine, can get over it. One of the worst things is me having to hear myself, and yeah, that's a real kick to the teeth when it comes down to editing, because you have to. And so I've learnt to also allow, that's a little bit of suffering there, is for me to push myself into becoming a better editor of the podcast. One thing that I've truly enjoyed doing is pushing the boundaries of editing in this sense. I am literally editing an iMovie. I know that's not professional in any way, shape or form, but it is what it is. And you just deal with, use the software you have and use the tech I have. I mean, my laptop, as I've said many times, I think it's 6 years old. The camera I'm filming on is 6 years old. I think it cost me like 200 quid back in 2015, something along those lines. And the microphone, again, I think this is probably £59, something like that. So it's actually like a quarter of the price of the camera itself. So you can see, and then the lighting as well. The lighting's probably the lighting and the microphone are the more expensive things. But as I've said, the equipment I'm using isn't high tech. I'm not using stuff that's... I'm not really a big fan of the equipment. I'm more of a fan of the content and the important part of creating something that you're proud of. I am truly proud of not caring about the views, not caring about subscribers, I should say, and not caring about what other people think, and just continuously pushing myself to feel uncomfortable and to put my opinion out there, and for people to, lucky enough for me, I'm surrounded by a lot of supportive and kind people, so I don't ever hear of the negativity, thankfully. Maybe I will see the internet is a quite toxic place, so we'll see what happens in the future. But I am lucky enough not to hear anything said about myself that is in a how should we say, just a unkind vocal point, let's say, and it's been really sort of motivating to not have that, because it could have been an easy thing where I hear something from someone and anxiety kicks in, or the voice in the back of your head where you should stop doing something, and 50 episodes later I haven't stopped doing it, and I love doing it, and I really enjoy creating these things, and it's a piece of me, it's a piece of who I am, and I'm starting to realize actually this is what work should feel like. So when I go into work every day, I should feel this energy, this want and need to do, and feel like it's a mission that I feel it truly do, which I don't at the moment, and that's something that I'm gonna fix. I wanna, something that's truly made me realize is like I have the ability to switch on and off whether I'm truly enjoying something or not, and it's that belief in what you're doing, that want to produce something positive and to truly believe in what you're doing. And I think this is something that's clicked in my head, where I've been like, wow, you did this, from nothing to nothing, for nothing to nobody. And it's something that I don't know if anyone can relate, but wanting to push yourself and to make a better person as well. Something that's truly changed in me as well. I used to look at other people. I used to think, wow, that person's really, I still have people I look up to, but I used to want to be people. I wish I was like, oh, I wish I could be this person, or I wish I could change this about myself, or I wish I could be like this person, or I could be with this person or that person, and I could, you think other people would change you. But the truth is, now my favorite thing about me is that I just want to be the better version of me and continuously be that. I don't want to be any other person. I don't want to be any other person in the world. I love who I am now, and I love the path I'm taking. And it's taken 26 years to get here, but it's finally here, and it's clicked in my mind. And this podcast has made me realize, like, I have control, full control over what I say, over what I do, over the things, the knowledge I take in, the food I eat, the writing I do. So that's another thing. I've never written or read so much in my life. I am reading more, I am writing more, I'm creating short stories at the moment. I am, practicing French as regularly as I can on Duolingo, as I've said multiple times. I'm sleeping good. I am trying my best to regularly make sure that I'm trying different areas of work, and I'm figuring out a new path for myself in work and outside in hobbies, and I'm trying other things. I'm also, as I've said before, working out, and that part of my life is truly a pleasure. It's a privilege for me to do, and I truly wouldn't change it for the world. So for me personally, it's just, I don't have any goals on strength. It's just continuously work on maintaining my pace running wise, and I am going to do what I said at the beginning of this podcast 50 episodes ago. I will be doing a marathon in under 3 hours and 30 minutes. That will be coming up soon. I will talk about that. My plan is to run the marathon on September the 17th. My plan is to run to do the 18 miles. Sorry, is it 15 miles. Thank you. 15 miles to it's not coming to me. My immediate thought is it's something zoo. It's I want to say it's not lower. Oh God, this is where the zoo. This is the problem with the podcast. This is another thing I've realized about myself, is that I forget some of the most important details. Not important, but these details that don't immediately come to me, which is infuriating. Oh God, it's not gonna come to me at all. But I'm running to a landmark area. It will be around 15 miles there, and then it's a 11-mile track back. And the plan is, I've been basically on track for this marathon to run it, and I've been having a race pace of around 7 minutes and 59 seconds, which will get me just under 3 hours and 30 minutes. For me personally, I run most half marathons at around 7 minutes 30. I can do that pretty well. I've run, in different terrains, but the hardest terrain I've ever run in is what I'm running in now. Dorset/Wiltshire is the hardest place I've ever run. It is super hilly here, and it is quite tough on the knees. And Reading, London, Oxford, Cambridge, trying to think of all the places I've run all over the world. This is the toughest for me personally, mainly because when you go up to different levels of oxygen, it can really mess with how fast you run. And if you're having not a good day, that track can destroy you. And from there, you've got to really have that mental toughness to be able to just get through it. I was doing a run the other day where my lower back was playing up and I felt a serious tightness in it. And I had 7 miles to run. And I ran those entire 7 miles, even though at mile 3 it was playing up, and it continued to play up the entire run. Sometimes you have that voice telling you to quit every time, and all I wanted to do was just like turn back. Your immediate thought process is just stop and walk and get a bad pace and stop. I mean, for me personally, that run was a bad pace. It was like at 8 minutes and 20 seconds. It was awful. It was abhorrent for me personally, and I take that seriously. I take that really hard on myself. I like to have a standard where I am running below 8 minutes for all of my runs, no matter whether it's long or short, and especially if I'm running a short run. If I'm doing a 4-mile run, I better be running that 4 miles in 30 minutes or less, otherwise I'm going to be really annoyed with myself. It doesn't matter the elements around me, it doesn't matter if there's any sort of change in weather. If it's raining, I'm out there. If it's sunny, I'm out there. If it's snowing, I'm out there. This is this mindset that I'm going to continue throughout all of my things. I think this is also a problem as well, because for me personally, I will have this standard for myself. I want to, I love this quote from Suits where Harvey Specter says, "Life is this. I like this."
Life is this. I like this.
And I love that. For me personally, that's exactly where I'm at. I want that. I want that. But most people want this. And the hardest thing is holding your tongue and not insulting everybody who wants this and saying that you want this. And I'm not going to give specifics because everybody's got a different path. For me, my path is a continuous uphill run where I am continually wanting to do things better. And if I have a rock thrown at me where it's like, or I'm tripping or I'm stumbling, all of these things up that hill, it's just going to make me stronger along the way. And I know it's all cliche, the majority of stuff I say, I do listen to it, don't worry. Whenever I'm saying all of these cliche stuff, it is cringe, but I can live with cringe. It's what was I think one of my favorite quotes, corny. I'm looking for corny in my life. Corny is what I'm looking for. And that's from a silly movie called Holiday with a few actors. I think it was like, I forgot her name, but Kate Winslet. Yeah, that's it. Kate Winslet says that. And it's a big one for me personally, because sometimes the silly stuff, as I've said before, it really makes you happy. And for me, it really does. And I'm in a good place at the moment. It's been a tough year and a half. I can't believe a year for the podcast, a year and a half of lockdown / pandemic / COVID, whatever you want to put. We're coming out the other end now. I think nothing but good times now. I know there's the Delta variant out there, and there's going to be many more variants to come as we go through these things. But I think it's just, let's go. Let's rock and roll. It's time to move out of that phase of life. So my goals for the podcast from now on is to, like I said, tackle new subjects, to do more in-person podcasts, and to try and increase the quality, try and increase the standard of the quality of the equipment. I know I said that equipment doesn't mean that much to me. It doesn't. That's actually the lowest out of the 3. I would much rather just 1 and 2 and then do 3. I'm more concerned for new guests and new in-person podcasts than I am about the equipment. But if I can tackle all 3, great. If not, we'll talk in a year's time for episode 100, and that will be a serious landmark to be hitting. For me personally, that goal, well, it's far off for now, but if I I've got to episode 50, I'm only halfway there to episode 100. So, and there's so many different things to tackle, so many new topics to talk about. I mean, one of the things that I loved talking about, different types of books, different types of knowledge, different aspects of religion, different aspects of history, different aspects of life in itself. One of the things that I see on the internet actually at the moment that is kind of a bit of a different sort of vibe for different people, and that would be the motivational speaker vibe. A lot of stuff like, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This guy, Kiyosaki or something along those lines, his last name. Very interesting gentleman who talks about finances. And as you may have seen, I've spoken about stocks and shares and all of these things, and buying assets rather than just letting the banks, have your money, basically. Interesting thing that I've found out through friends and on my own, basically. I've never had my parents or anyone from school or anyone basically teach me to invest or to basically not save my money and not do what everyone else does, where they get a mortgage and buy a house and do that, or buy a car, which is, not exactly a good investment. There are certain assets that increase in value, and a house is one of them. But if you, for instance, one thing that really interests me is that if you buy a £400,000 house, right, if you earn less than £50,000, that mortgage is going to take you basically a lifetime to pay off. I've seen this happen over and over again, unless I saw recently somebody who was smart enough to basically stay with his parents and then buy a house and then rent that house out. That person is making money. He's saving money by staying with his parents, but society now looks down upon him for staying with his parents to be able to better himself. We need to change the way society thinks as individuals, rather than look down upon the gentleman who's done the smart move where he's renting out an apartment and he's gaining money and he's made an asset, rather than the person who puts themselves into a mortgage, which you can consider as debt, and not a negative debt, a positive debt, but he's now got a house that he can't necessarily afford, but he's buying for, let's call it, looking good rather than anything else, and society looks well upon him rather than the gentleman who's living with his parents, bettering himself. It's truly interesting to see these stories, these ideas that I've had to reflect upon, and it's truly interesting to see how the world works during a pandemic as well, which makes me think I want to speak about finance further, but I don't really want to, because I've seen what's happened on the internet recently. There's nothing more sort of disturbing than people who are unqualified then giving out information to people that they could use and make a huge loss in their money. There's a bit of a meme going on where at the moment people end their video was saying this is not financial advice. Well, number one, you're not qualified, and number two, this is just silly. The cryptocurrency, for instance, I've spoken about it before. It's kind of a little bit of a pump and dump scheme from what I've seen for a lot of the coins that people are promoting, and there's also financial schemes out there and other stocks that people will use as pump and dumps as well. Please invest in this, please invest in that. The truth is that I don't think there's truly anyone looking out for the individual. I think you have to find reliable information rather than opinions, because what I'm giving is opinions right now. There's nothing informative about the finance. I'm just saying stuff that I've seen, and it's an opinion. It's therefore not something you should probably refer to, but it's interesting. You know what I mean? It's like you referring to the news and not actually looking at the, you're not giving the news, you're just talking about the news. It's intriguing because I see Joe Rogan's name continuously get brought up in a lot of the sort of journalists and stuff like that, and even some of the other podcasters like Tim Dillon recently, where articles get written about them, and it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They have a popular podcast which is based on comedy, not based off facts and, informing people. They're just there to have a laugh and to make some entertainment. The seriousness behind that is down to the individual, not down to the person who's recording it. Yes, they have some sort of responsibility based off how big their audience is, but at the same time, come on. They didn't have an audience to begin with. It's only now that they have the big audience. Like, that would be such a contradiction where they would change themselves as a person just because they've got more listeners. It's infuriating for me personally, because I look at it and I think to myself, like, they're not there to be sources of information. They're there to entertain people. We're here to bring joy. We're not here to provide you with a good source of information. And I think that's something that needs to be able to, you need to be able to dissect that and also be able to understand the difference between the one and the other. And because there's a lot of a young audience out there who are easily led, there's that as well. There's quick rich schemes and stuff like that. And it's, it's bit concerning. But anyway, off the negative topics, I am going to be talking about lots of different things in the future on this podcast, post episode 50 and into the new season / the new year of A Taylor's Tales podcast. And I may not be in Chris's corner. I may be. Who knows? We'll see what happens in the future. I'm trying to think as well that the pandemic's slowing down. As I said, I've said about my goals in running, there's so many different things that I'm going to try and do. But the main thing is that I make new podcasts every week, enjoy them, enjoy making them, and hopefully continue to produce different topics and different ways of thinking and learning from new people, and truly not saying "and" every 5 seconds. So there's that as well. But on any other positive note, this has been A Taylor's Tales podcast. This has been Chris's Corner. I'm your host, Chris Taylor. Thank you for episode 50. Bye now.